The crisp air on Halloween night felt electric as I gathered with friends for our annual spooky celebration. The moon hung high, full and bright, illuminating the neighborhood with a ghostly glow. We had planned a night of scares, haunted houses, ghost stories, and, of course, trick-or-treating. This year, however, I suggested we explore the old, abandoned house on the hill rumored to be haunted. My friends exchanged nervous glances, but the thrill of adventure won out. As we approached the house, an unsettling chill ran down my spine. The windows were cracked, and the door hung slightly ajar, creaking ominously as the wind whistled through the darkness. My heart raced as we stepped inside, the floorboards groaning beneath our weight. Flashlights flickered against peeling wallpaper, revealing unsettling shapes that seemed to dance in the shadows. We moved cautiously through the dimly lit hallway, our laughter and jokes gradually fading into hushed whispers. Every creak of the house echoed, each sound amplifying the tension. I was both terrified and exhilarated, adrenaline pumping through my veins as we explored room after room, each one more unsettling than the last. In the back of the house, we stumbled upon a staircase leading down to a basement. The air grew heavy as we descended, our flashlights illuminating the damp, cobweb-covered walls. A sudden gust of wind slammed the basement door shut, making us all jump and gasp. I felt a shiver crawl up my back, but we pressed on, eager to uncover whatever horrors lay hidden in the darkness. At the bottom of the stairs, we found an old trunk, half buried under debris. My friend Rachel eagerly pried it open, revealing a collection of dusty, yellowed photographs. They depicted a family, smiling but with an unsettling emptiness in their eyes. The last photo, however, was the most chilling. It showed the family standing in front of the very house we were in, but behind them, barely visible, was a shadowy figure. "What do you think it is?" I whispered, my heart racing. The atmosphere grew thicker, charged with something unnameable. Rachel shrugged, but I could see fear in her eyes. Suddenly, we heard a faint whisper, a voice echoing through the darkness, calling out my name. I froze, heart pounding in my chest. The voice sounded like my own, but twisted and distorted. "Did you hear that?" I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. My friends nodded, eyes wide with fear. The whisper grew louder, almost pleading, pulling us deeper into the darkness. The air felt alive, vibrating with an energy that made my skin crawl. As we inched closer to the source of the voice, the shadows around us seemed to shift and swirl. Then, without warning, the lights flickered, and the temperature dropped. A loud crash echoed from above, and we jumped back, adrenaline surging through us. The trunk slammed shut, and the whispers turned into frantic cries, drowning out our panic. "Get out! Get out!" the voice screamed, an anguished sound that sent chills down my spine. We turned to run back to the stairs, but something stopped us. The basement door swung open on its own, revealing a dark figure standing in the entrance. I couldn't see its face, but the shape was unmistakable. It was tall and gaunt, dressed in tattered clothing, with long fingers that seemed to stretch toward us. I felt a primal urge to flee, but I couldn't move. The figure raised its hand, pointing directly at me. "Help me," it whispered, but the voice was not my own. It was the family from the photographs, their voices merging into one desperate plea. Finally, the terror kicked in, and I bolted toward the stairs, my friends following close behind. We scrambled up the steps, the whispers growing louder, frantic. As we burst into the hallway, I turned to look back, expecting to see the figure pursuing us. But the basement door slammed shut behind us, plunging the house into silence. Panting, we stumbled outside into the cool night air. The moonlight felt like a sanctuary compared to the oppressive darkness of the house. We didn't speak as we made our way down the hill, adrenaline still coursing through our veins. The following week, the story of our Halloween adventure spread through our town like wildfire. We joked about it, trying to dismiss the fear, but a lingering dread remained. Days later, I received a call from Rachel, her voice trembling. "I found something online," she said, breathless. "The family in the pictures, they disappeared 50 years ago on Halloween night." My heart sank. The shadowy figure, the whispers, it all made sense. We had uncovered something that should have remained buried. And in that moment, I realized, sometimes, curiosity has a price, and some secrets are better left hidden. The night of Halloween had always been my favorite. This year, my friends and I decided to go to an old, abandoned house rumored to be haunted. We were eager to experience the thrill of fear, laughing off the ghost stories we had heard since childhood. The air was crisp, filled with the smell of fallen leaves and the faint aroma of bonfires in the distance. As we approached the house, the moonlight illuminated its crumbling facade, casting eerie shadows. We hesitated at the door, but after a few playful nudges, we stepped inside. The wooden floor creaked beneath our feet, echoing through the empty halls. Cobwebs hung like curtains, and the air felt thick with dust. We split up, as teenagers often do in horror stories, with each group exploring a different part of the house. I found myself with Sarah, who was always the brave one among us. As we moved deeper into the house, I felt a chill run down my spine, an instinctual warning that something was off. The air felt charged, almost electric, and I couldn't shake the feeling that we were being watched. In the dim light, we stumbled upon a room filled with old furniture, the wallpaper peeling away like the skin of a decaying corpse. It was in that room that we found an ancient mirror, its surface cracked and dirty. I glanced into it, and saw not just my reflection but a fleeting shadow behind me. I spun around, heart racing, but there was nothing there. "Did you see that?" I whispered to Sarah. She looked at me, her face pale. "See what?" she asked, her voice shaky. I thought I saw something move. She shrugged it off, and I tried to convince myself it was just my imagination. We continued exploring, moving toward the back of the house. The atmosphere grew heavier, as if the very walls were pressing in on us. We reached a narrow hallway that led to a staircase spiraling down into darkness. "Let's check the basement," Sarah suggested, her voice filled with excitement. I hesitated, the unease in my gut growing stronger. "I don't know. It seems creepy. Come on, it's Halloween. What's the worst that could happen?" Reluctantly, I agreed, and we descended the stairs, the wood creaking ominously with each step. At the bottom, we found ourselves in a dimly lit room filled with old boxes and dusty furniture. The air smelled damp and stale, and I felt an oppressive weight in the darkness. Suddenly, a loud bang echoed from behind us. We both jumped, and I turned to see the door to the basement swinging shut. Panic surged through me as I rushed to push it open, but it wouldn't budge. "Sarah, help!" She pulled at the door, but it was stuck. My heart raced, panic clawing at my throat. "What is going on?" I gasped. Then we heard a low, raspy whisper that seemed to curl around us. "Get out!" The voice was chilling, filled with malice. I felt a chill creep down my spine, and I shivered despite the warmth of the night. "Who's there?" Sarah yelled, her bravado slipping away. The whispering grew louder, almost mocking. "Get out!" In a surge of adrenaline, I kicked the door, throwing my weight against it. With a loud crash, it flew open, and we stumbled back into the hallway, gasping for air. The darkness behind us felt alive, but we didn't dare look back. We ran up the stairs, desperate to escape the house. As we burst through the front door, we found our friends waiting outside, their faces twisted in concern. "Where have you guys been? We thought you were gone." "We heard weird noises," I gasped, trying to catch my breath. "What kind of weird?" one of my friends asked, eyeing the house nervously. I hesitated, unsure of how to explain the whispering. Then, as we stood there, we all noticed something at the edge of the woods. A figure emerged from the shadows, illuminated by the moonlight. It was tall and gaunt, its features obscured by darkness. I felt my stomach drop as it raised a hand and pointed directly at us, a grotesque grin stretching across its face. "Get out," it echoed, mimicking the voice we had heard in the basement. Before we could react, the figure faded into the night, leaving us breathless and terrified. We ran, not stopping until we reached the safety of the streetlights. Once we caught our breath, we shared nervous laughs, brushing off the encounter as a Halloween scare. But I knew that something sinister lingered in that house. The unease remained, a silent promise that we had barely escaped something dark. But as we walked home, I couldn't shake the feeling that the figure was still watching us, waiting for the next Halloween to lure in its next victims. The night air was crisp, laced with the earthy smell of fallen leaves. Halloween was always my favorite time of year, and this year I had convinced my friends to join me on a ghost tour in the old neighborhood. The tour guide was a local historian, known for sharing spine-chilling tales about the area. As the sun dipped below the horizon, I felt an electric thrill in the air. We gathered at the old park, where the tour was set to begin. Jack, Sarah, and I stood in a tight circle, our faces illuminated by the flickering candlelight of the guide's lantern. He started telling stories of haunted houses and restless spirits, his voice low and ominous. I leaned closer, captivated, when suddenly a loud bang echoed from the nearby abandoned house. My heart raced, and I felt a shiver run down my spine. "Just the wind," Jack said, trying to be brave, but I could see the uncertainty in his eyes. The tour continued, moving deeper into the old neighborhood. The stories grew darker, and the air thickened with an unsettling energy. We listened intently as the guide spoke of a notorious haunted house known for its gruesome past. As we neared the house, the atmosphere shifted. The wind picked up, swirling leaves around our feet. The guide warned us to stay together, but curiosity got the better of me. I felt drawn to the house, an inexplicable urge to step closer. As my friends hesitated, I made my way toward the creaking front porch. The house loomed over me, dark and foreboding. I raised my flashlight, illuminating the peeling paint and broken windows. The urge to explore grew stronger, and I climbed the creaky steps. My heart pounded as I pushed the door open. It groaned in protest, revealing a dimly lit hallway that seemed to stretch into darkness. "Are you coming or not?" I called back, but my friends exchanged nervous glances, clearly unsure. I took a deep breath and stepped inside, the door slamming shut behind me. I spun around, panic rising, but the door wouldn't budge. "Guys, let me out," I shouted, pounding my fists against the door. Just as I began to panic, I heard a whisper echo through the house. It was faint, but unmistakably clear. "Help me." Chills ran down my spine. I couldn't tell where it came from, but my instincts told me to find the source. I hesitated, then followed the sound, moving deeper into the house. The floor creaked beneath my feet, each step heavy with dread. I passed old photographs hanging crookedly on the walls, their faces blurred and distorted, watching me as I moved. The whisper grew louder, leading me toward a darkened room at the end of the hallway. I hesitated at the door, my heart racing, but the voice beckoned me forward. As I stepped inside, I shone my flashlight around the room. It was empty except for a large mirror hanging on the wall, covered in dust. I wiped the glass with my sleeve, revealing a reflection that sent shivers down my spine. My own face stared back, but behind me, I saw something that didn't belong. A shadowy figure loomed just outside the door. I whipped around, but the hallway was empty. The whisper returned, closer this time, tinged with urgency. "Help me." I felt a cold rush of air, and then the lights flickered before plunging me into darkness. Panic surged through me. I scrambled to the door, finally managing to yank it open. My friends stood wide-eyed outside, fear etched across their faces. "Where have you been?" Sarah cried, relief washing over her. "I heard someone," I gasped, trembling. "We have to leave. Now." We bolted from the house, not daring to look back. The tour guide was waiting for us at the end of the street, a knowing smile on his face. "You went inside the haunted house, didn't you?" he said, his tone shifting from concern to amused. "Yeah, and we heard someone calling for help," I said, still panting. The guide's expression changed. "That's interesting. No one's been in that house for years." "The last person who went in ... well, they didn't come out." I froze, my stomach dropping. "Actually," he continued, leaning closer, "you shouldn't have hurt anyone. The last resident of that house died long ago, and their spirit is said to haunt the mirror." I turned, staring back at the house, my heart racing. What had I really seen? The figure, the whisper. Suddenly, the lights in the house flickered on, illuminating the windows. A face appeared in the glass, a twisted, anguished expression locked in eternal despair. And just like that, the house swallowed its secrets once again. The crisp autumn air bit at my skin as I stepped out of my house, ready to embrace the Halloween festivities. The neighborhood was alive with the sights and sounds of the season. Pumpkins grinned from every porch, and the laughter of children echoed as they dashed from door to door. My friends and I had decided to explore the nearby woods after dark, a tradition we'd kept since childhood. This time felt different, though. As the sun dipped below the horizon, we gathered flashlights and candy, our nerves tingling with excitement. We ventured into the woods, the shadows deepening around us. The trees stood tall and gnarled, their bare branches reaching out like skeletal fingers. I glanced at my friends, their faces illuminated by the flickering beam of my flashlight, and felt a thrill of anticipation. "Let's go to the old cemetery," Sarah suggested, her voice almost a whisper. We had heard rumors about strange happenings there, about the restless spirits of those who couldn't find peace. I shrugged off the unease that crept into my mind. It was just a story, after all. As we approached the cemetery, the air grew still. The rustling leaves faded, leaving an eerie silence in their place. We crossed the creaking iron gate, stepping into a realm that felt almost sacred. The moon cast a silver glow over the tombstones, illuminating the names etched into the stone. I shivered, pulling my jacket tighter around me. "Let's play a game," Tom said, his eyes glinting with mischief. "We'll each choose a tombstone and try to find out something about the person buried there. Whoever can tell the scary story wins." We laughed nervously, but the chill in the air was undeniable. We scattered through the cemetery, each of us pausing to inspect the weathered stones. I wandered deeper, drawn to a large oak tree that loomed ominously over a particularly old grave. The name was worn away, but a small, intricate carving caught my eye. It was a figure of a woman, her eyes seeming to follow me. Suddenly, I felt a chill run down my spine. I turned to head back to my friends but realized I had lost my sense of direction. The tree seemed to twist and turn, creating a maze. The moonlight filtered through the branches, casting eerie shadows that danced around me. "Guys," I called, my voice shaky. Silence enveloped me. I took a deep breath, trying to steady my racing heart. Just as I turned to retrace my steps, I heard it a soft whisper, just above the rustling leaves. "Help me." I froze, my blood turning to ice. My first instinct was to run back to my friends, but curiosity held me in place. I crept toward the sound, the flashlight shaking in my grasp. The whisper became clearer. "Please, help me." The voice was haunting, filled with despair. It came from behind a cluster of trees. My mind raced, but I felt compelled to move forward. As I approached, I saw a faint glow emanating from the ground. I crouched down, the beam of my flashlight illuminating a small, shallow grave. What I saw made my stomach lurch. A tattered doll lay half buried in the dirt, its eyes wide and hollow. It was eerily similar to one I had owned as a child. The whispers grew louder, sounding more desperate. "Please, find me." Before it's too late, a sudden crash echoed through the cemetery, and I whipped around, heart pounding. A shadow darted between the tombstones, too quick for me to see. Panic gripped me. I stumbled back, fear consuming me. I had to find my friends. "Guys," I yelled, sprinting back the way I came. The moonlight was my only guide as I weaved through the gravestones. I burst into a clearing where my friends were gathered, their faces pale and anxious. "What happened?" Sarah asked, eyes wide. I tried to catch my breath, but words failed me. "There's something in their whispers." "A grave." Tom stepped forward, skepticism in his voice. "It's just a prank, right? You're trying to scare us." But before I could respond, the wind picked up, howling through the trees. The temperature dropped sharply, and a dense fog rolled in, obscuring our view. We huddled closer together, fear gripping us. Just then, a soft giggle broke through the fog. I squinted into the mist, but nothing appeared. The laughter grew louder, echoing in my ears. My heart raced as I looked at my friends, their faces a mixture of confusion and terror. Then, out of the fog, a figure emerged, a girl in a white dress, her hair tangled and wild. She smiled, her eyes gleaming with an unsettling brightness. "Did you come to play?" she asked, her voice melodic yet haunting. We stumbled back, instinctively moving closer together. "Who are you?" I shouted, my voice trembling. She giggled again, the sound echoing in the eerie silence. "You shouldn't have come here. They'll want you to." Suddenly, the ground shook beneath us, and the fog thickened, swallowing her form. Panic surged through us as we turned to run. As we sprinted toward the exit, the whispers returned, now sounding like a cacophony of voices crying for help. We burst through the gate, the cold night air hitting us like a wave. We didn't stop running until we reached the safety of the streetlights. Breathless, we turned to look back, but the cemetery was just a dark outline against the night sky. I couldn't shake the feeling that we had left something behind. Maybe it was the doll or the girl in the fog. As we walked away, I glanced at my friends, who looked just as shaken as I felt. From that night on, I knew Halloween would never feel the same. The whispers and laughter would haunt my dreams, a reminder of the darkness lurking just beyond the safety of the streetlights. And I couldn't help but wonder what truly awaited in that cursed graveyard, waiting for the next group of unsuspecting souls to wander in.